You're not small, buddy.
I'm
Hello.
perfectly average.
Perfectly average.
What's up?
Man. Late to the party. Late to everything.
Charge you to the party.
You want to listen to music?
No.
No, but it's
I don't
just
care.
us.
No, you can put it on if you want.
It's just us, and we're live. This is episode 164. Four?
Yeah, that's what the thing said.
That's right. THP 164. We're live this round. It's our one-on-one. How's everybody doing?
Pretty well. It's just me.
Not you. I was talking to the people.
The audience. Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's like
bring that down. Bring that down one notch.
Really?
One notch. All right, I can live with that.
At that point, we might as well just not even.
You can have it back. You can have it one more up. All right,
we'll split the difference. How about that?
Rock with that.
What's going on? How is everybody doing? This show is it is early, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's nice and early, just how I like it.
Look at that, because Smitty gets off at 5 o'clock now.
Yep, it's all great. You're changing colors.
There we go.
Buddy.
Jake, switch legs and get that fat foot on screen with me. Yeah.
You can't see mine as well. And I have shoes on because, I'm not a psychopath.
It's stupid hot in here right now.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to wear my hat. I'm change my mind.
It's hotter than all hell out there.
I got this brand new shirt that I made, and I'm going to ruin it with sweat. See, and that sucks too because we got this light, and it's neat and all, but you can't see it when we turn it on. So
no, well,
it is really early. New work schedule is pretty awesome for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it works.
Jake's pumped because he's not getting, home at midnight.
Yeah, because it's solid.
I'm not even prepared for any of this. So do our usual intro stuff while I
usual intro stuff. Well, once again, welcome to THP episode 164. I am Jacob Bratz with Longleaf Reptilia.
I'm Justin Smith of JLB Morelia.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. It's Palmetto Coast Exotics.
I'm just kidding.
I thought you had a different new shirt.
Who?
Genomic Labs. It has been a minute. Look at that. We do this early, and people that we ain't seen in a minute pop up. So
exactly. What's up?
How many times will Jake say Nerodia? I don't know.
I don't know. It's about probably several, but Facebook user. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, that's from us. So when you know who sent that, we do not. It just says Facebook user because StreamYard is weird about when you post in a group that you're doing a live stream, like people have to grant permission to what it only happens in groups. It doesn't happen on pages, doesn't happen on like personal feeds. Just for whatever reason in groups, it's like say yes to letting StreamYard to being able to comment. You have to. I don't know.
That's weird.
It makes no sense. So we just see it as Facebook user. Everyone else will see who it is. We don't have that luxury. We're flying blind.
I see.
Nah. Oh, I didn't even see that one. I didn't even notice it.
Is there a plug for it somewhere? We're about to set up another fan.
Yeah,
guys,
we're setting up another fan. We were running behind. Even starting early, we weren't on time.
Yeah. Be what it be.
Where are you gonna plug it in at? Oh, is there enough cord? Let me get this lit before that kicks off.
This is the only bad thing about having a live show because it's like you can't edit this part out. It's long.
This is the reality of having a podcast. You guys see sort of all the pre-show stuff that normally we just don't include.
Yeah,
because we haven't started recording
yet. Yeah, this is normally how it goes. Something like this usually happens at least once. Yes, you are silently watching on the book. I don't. Still, we don't know who you are, you silent user. Nice. Oh man, that actually feels really good.
Here we go. I can feel it.
Sweet.
No, I can feel the breeze.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
I don't know if y'all can hear that in the background, but
I can hear it in the headphones. I don't think so.
I don't think these mics are going to pick it up.
Wonderful.
All right, so getting into business. The show's brought to you
Yes.
by BlackBoxCages.com.
BlackBoxCages.com. I
You struggle
tried.
there.
I tried. You know, I don't know if you're going for the .com or just BlackBox Cages. Yeah.
We try to sometimes.
Yeah,
We
but
try to harmonize.
dude, we used
like
to
Boys to Men.
harmonize like on point, like
We
all the
used to.
time back in the day.
Well, we can do it.
Man.
So blackboxcages.com, check them out. You need a cage, you need a rack. That's who you need to be talking to.
Yep. Check out the video review we did of my stuff not
Yes.
too long ago. If you want a good example of some things.
At some point, what'd you do? Like put a rock in it? At some point, I want to do an updated sort of collection tour like we did with Jake, just with my stuff.
Definitely need to, because I don't think we've never done one of yours.
I don't. Yeah, we haven't actually. No, I think
so
about
we
it.
need to make that happen.
I figured we might
run
have
a
to
camera,
split it up
kinda.
between like rat snakes and then like corn snakes and bears, old world rat stuff.
Oh, so you
chondros.
don't want just one fat video like we did on mine.
I don't know, like knowing how much of a pain it was to get yours edited and stuff. You know, it's like I don't know.
I can see that. It makes sense.
So hopefully that'll be coming out here soon.
But,
check out.
Yep.
What are we doing?
I don't know,
We're
dude.
all out of sorts, man.
It's this live stuff, man.
All right, Steve Snakesbury and his Venom hot sauce. So we talked about BlackBox because they're awesome. But hey, if you're like, I don't really need a new cage or a rack, but I do love me some hot sauce. SteveSnakesbury.com. Check it out. Get his hot sauce. You're helping him out. He does a lot of public education. He rehabs like herps that are brought to him. He takes in unwanted, select unwanted, herps that people, I guess, just don't want anymore.
Yep.
He does a ton of like expos and other cool stuff. So
he does a lot of like different expos too. Like he goes to, like Comic Cons and stuff like that. He does all types of stuff to reach out to the general public, and I think it's really awesome. He goes to some of the things that not necessarily every reptile keeper would but
if you go to like one of his booths, he has the hot sauces and stuff set up, and you can try them there. But you can also just grab your own and buy the whole set on his website,
which is what you should do.
Cottonmouth sauce we talk about all the time. That's our jam. And he's just a good guy. He's helping us out. We need to have him on the show again here soon.
Yep.
He's been posting these things lately, actually, that are really cool. Like it's like a spot the snake kind of thing. Like when he goes to calls to remove stuff and relocate. Mm-hmm. Some of them are actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
And some of them it's like, it's right there. But there's it's either that or it's like something that has an interesting story of, this is the call I went to today, and you might be wondering why this rat snake is in this odd space in a house, and it's just cool stuff.
Yeah, he also shows and it's also cool to kind of like take a as it lays picture to really see how they can blend in some scenarios, which is always cool. But yeah, it gives you real world pictures of what he walks into a lot of times. So it's pretty cool. Give him a follow, buy his hot sauce, support him. It's a great cause, great guy.
And in other news, as far as Facebook groups go, the South Carolina Snake Identification Group has been freaking on fire. Tons of people posting. A lot of Neurodia.
Ching, ching.
There's someone posted a really cool looking timber, because I think it was upstate, and that it had like an aberrant pattern and everything. I'll have to hunt it down and send it to you, but it was pretty freaking dope.
Oh yeah.
And it's, once again, the amount of people that are holding these snakes and then posting a picture and saying, "What is this?"
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Not necessarily the smartest thing to do, but
they're like, "Oh, I think it's a corn snake," and it'll be like a yellow rat or something, like an adult yellow rat or a black rat. I don't know.
Which is great. It's better than picking up a copperhead, but
I'm waiting for the day that that pops up, and I'm sure it has at some point in the past. But I'm like,
you remember the little video of that little kid holding the coral snake? Yeah. That was messed up, dude.
These are adults, though.
Yeah,
these are grown people.
Yeah,
they're like, what is it? It's like, why are you holding it? Why are you touching it?
Yep.
I don't get it.
Hey.
It's bravery. Oh my gosh. Put my phone on silent. These spam calls will leave me alone.
Spam calls have gotten real.
What's happening? What's new?
Just nothing really new. At least I don't think. I'm getting my female Mexican pine on Tuesday. So that's a thing
From
that's
KP?
coming. Yes, sir.
Nice.
So that's really exciting. Very, very glad to finish off that pair.
So those are a year apart.
Yeah, they're a year
Yeah.
apart, but good grief, man. I could have an army of Janai, dude. They're just fantastic animals.
We were talking about it in the group chat the other day, and I mean, like, I like them. I like the oranges and stuff, but for whatever reason, Northerns and Kanks are what does it for me with Pituophis.
Yeah, and I get
Like,
that. It's just like
I don't know
Mexicans.
why though. Like those Lajitas gophers were really nice too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I see Northerns and I see Kankakee and I get a little excited. But the Janai are nice for sure. It's just I don't know. It's just like I understand the appeal and why people like them so much and stuff. They're gorgeous snakes, but
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's like if someone said you got to pick a Pituophis right now, it's probably going to be Northerns.
Honestly, if somebody was like, you have to pick one Pituophis and stick with it, it would be Janai for me, like 100%. You know, and it's a mixture of things. It's the beauty behind it. It's the size. It's the temperament. They're just like they're Pituophis without so much pittiness. You know what I mean?
And they're kind of like the Alterna of the Pituophis world.
Yeah,
They're like the
anti-king
snake.
That's a pretty good example. You know, they're still pits. You know, they still poop a lot, but
yeah,
you know, they're really calm. You know, and just very pleasant snakes. I don't know.
You got anything else coming from them, or just that?
Just that for now. I just got the Santa Rosa White Oaks. I know I've already brought that up though. I've had those for a couple weeks now. I don't know. I'm hopefully getting other stuff from him later, but that's the only thing coming for now. Other than that, I mean, just maintaining, and you know, I'm almost at a point to where like I'm happy and I'm gonna kind of cut off additions. You know, I got a few things that I need to add, a few localities, and maybe a different species or two. I'm hoping to get some Cleveland South Mountain corns from Montrose. Hopefully getting those, and then
I like those a lot, and I've actually been very curious to see because those being such a high silver base color, those with like a silver Miami, like just to see if those build upon each other in any capacity when you do that. Like
being how gray they are, I
just thought that would be neat.
Yeah, no, and that's the cool thing with localities. You know, if you're into morphs and stuff, like, and you're also in the locality game, there could be a lot of cool potential to come from, you know, different morphs and stuff like that. You know, especially with things like that, just the different colors that they really could, you know, add to a morph. But yeah, and there's something else. There was another one I'm supposed to get from Chris, but it is escaping me for some reason. There's two pairs that I'm supposed to hopefully get from him other than water snakes. I don't know. Can't think right now.
He's just got so much stuff.
No, well, I mean, I don't have a lot, but I have different stuff and different things on the radar.
No, I mean Chris.
Oh yeah, dude, he's got he's got a lot of stuff. Good grief.
You see these now? These are mounted into the table. Like
I saw that. Yeah.
They ain't clipped anymore. I found my mounting brackets that I thought I lost, and they're now attached to this table. So this table has 0 resale value now. It didn't have much before, but whatever.
I mean, you can take it out, can't you?
Yeah, but it's got
it's got holes in it.
Fairly large holes in it. I had to use the drill as like a smaller drill bit as a bigger drill bit to make them fit. So
smaller drill bit as a bigger drill bit.
It looks a little rough, but
it works.
We're now the same height, though. He's not in his computer chair anymore. We did some, you know.
But now we're also not the same
these
height.
Are genuine Italian leather.
Yeah. Now people can see how much smaller I actually am.
Katie's parents had these back in the day.
Yeah. These are chairs from like the
real.
80s, aren't
No,
they?
dude, it's older than that.
Oh,
These things are
jeez.
probably haunted. They're that old. So,
Well, what's new with you? What's going on? You just had some babies hatch.
Dion's. Yeah, finally. Well, I say finally. They were laid on the 13th of May, and they hatched day before yesterday is when they started. So, went 8 for 8. Had the first 7. So I had 7 of the 8 pip on their own, and then on the second day that they had started to pip, there was the 8th one had not yet, and so I went ahead and cut it because I was like, it's kind of odd that one hadn't pipped yet. All the other ones have. Like, what's up?
Yeah.
You know, maybe this one just didn't make it. I candled it before I did that, veins and everything. Like, it was completely fine. Cut it and did my little. I take the cuticle scissors and I touch the snake inside to make sure it's alive, because if they're alive, they flinch, like they react to it. If they're dead, they're like rubbery. So cut that open, and of course it flinched, and I was like, okay, cool, you're good. Squeezed out some of the albumin and left it there, and of course, like within minutes, his head was poking out, just sitting there. So
hell yeah, man.
That one actually, I came home today, and that one was out of the egg. So they are all out. They are all fat little things. Oddly enough, that last one was the feistiest one of the bunch.
Oh yeah,
which is strange because all the other ones were like no rattling, no nothing. This one, I'm holding it, and it's like because they have the Echistrodon tail rattle, not the colubrid. So like half their tails just like blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Nice. Was it smaller than the rest of them or anything? No.
And I actually, because I'm gonna do a write up on the whole process of breeding those in particular for the website. I went ahead and got weights on all of them, 8 grams across the board.
No shit.
Yeah, which I thought was strange.
Wow. Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Wow.
Unless my thing was calibrated, my
I mean,
scale
even if it wasn't off, even if it was off, you would have gotten
like
different.
They went into a container,
different weights,
which was zeroed out, and put them in there, and they were all 8. So, and it's a postal scale, so it's not like it's very vague as far as like numbers and stuff go. But what's up, Christian?
What's up, man?
They all came out fine. So I tried to pop some of them. I did that on Instagram Live yesterday as I was setting them up. Right now, it looks like it's 2 males and 6 females.
Jeez.
I don't know how accurate that was. So I was talking to Pain Shab about it a little bit. He's like, dude, wait for them to shed and then try it. It seems to be a little easier after they've shed. It's also hard when they come out of the egg because, like, they're slimy.
Yeah.
They're wiggly. Like, Dion's don't sit still. That's so frustrating. Like, corns, same thing. Like, they don't sit still. But Dion's, it's like, they're wiggly, man.
Yeah.
And it's hot in that room. I've been sweating all day, and I was sweating while I was trying to do it. So
that makes everything harder, dude.
It does.
Oh my god.
So I wrote down what I think they were, and then once they all shed, I'll go back and either pop them again, or I'll just collect all the sheds and send them to RGI, and then we don't have to question any of it.
There's also that.
What's interesting is there's 2 papers in particular I referenced throughout the whole time of breeding them, as far as like brumation, like incubation temperatures, gestation, like all that stuff. And both had mentioned the possibility, or the there's some thinking out there that the Dion's are temperature dependent sex determination.
Oh, really?
Like, they're one of those species where, for whatever reason, if you have them a little warmer, they tend to skew higher in males. If I ended up popping correctly and all of these are what I got, then that would be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it could just be a complete coincidence. You know, sometimes people get really, really skewed ratios one way or the other. Like Billy, didn't Billy have a clutch of something and it was like 1 male and like 13 females or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah. Honestly, from what I've seen, it's been like the opposite. You get like 1 female to like 10 males, you know?
Yeah.
I've always been male heavy.
I want equal ratios or be slightly male heavy. So
really?
That's
You'd rather be male heavy?
Depending on the species, yeah, but for the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean like hatching babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair
I
enough.
don't know. Equal ratios are.
Yeah.
If I have to be heavy on one side, it'll be males.
I got you.
Like 9 times out of 10. Like I said, depends on the species. But those things were, as far as actually pairing them, as soon as that male was in there, man, he was all about it. So
Rocking and rolling.
they were locked up all the time. It was like I'd open that tub, locked up, go in like another day, like the next day and the following day, locked up.
Jeez.
Like, dude wasted no time.
Do you think she'll double clutch?
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't be upset if she did. I contemplated pairing them again, but I don't know if I'm going to.
Yeah.
If I do, it'll be a little while, but
Yeah.
it sounds like double clutching is actually pretty common with those, so I may not even have to, and that's okay.
It might be one of those things, just let it ride and see what happens, and rock with.
If they do, it sounds
goes.
like late summers when you're typically it's gonna happen. But
that makes sense.
They were a breeze, and it's I've mentioned it before, but it's very surprising that those aren't more popular. Rob Stone at one point had kept a lot of them, and Matt Most has some, and it's just odd that there's not a lot of people doing stuff with them because they're not hard to keep. Like, personality wise, they're all right. My male's a little prick. The female, she's pretty mellow for the most part, as long as you don't smell like food. And then the yearling I have from that Loafman produced, because it was originally a trio. I lost the Siberian female, so it's the Siberian male and the Beijing female that I paired and got this clutch from. And I have a yearling from those two as well last year, and that was the only egg and baby that Loafman got. So I don't know. I'm anxious to see what they all look like after their first shed, because they all look very uniform in terms of like pattern and color. There's really nothing that like super stands out. There was one in particular that looked a little more monochromatic. So we'll see. I don't know, but either way,
you plan on keeping any of them?
Yeah, because I mean, once I get a better idea of sexes, for sure, because the dam is a fairly old snake. I don't know exactly how old, but I know she ain't young.
Yeah.
So the one I have that Zach produced last year, that's a female. I basically just want to make sure I have at least another pair, at least another male.
Yeah.
I don't think that he doesn't strike me as up there in age, but the female, you know how just over time you can tell like a snake is like old. It just has this.
You can see it on their face.
Yeah. So I don't know. Definitely want to at least keep a pair. If they double clutch, that'll make letting some of this first clutch go easier. Haven't tried feeding yet. I'm going to do that after the first sheds. I don't have I know there's people that have done it with chondros where it's like they come out of the egg and in the first 48 hours they're offering food. Have you ever? I've never been.
No, for anything I've produced, I've always let them go a week, because I'm of the opinion, if you let them shed, get kind of hungry, let them absorb all that yolk, they're more out to eat the first go round if you let them get a little hungry.
Yeah.
I'm not saying starve them by any means. I'm just saying, not offering right away. I've noticed it helps with success, of getting them all to go right away.
I don't see these being difficult to get started.
No, I highly doubt it.
From everything else that I read and watched as well, they're not a problematic species in getting them established, so I'm really not worried about it. They're all plenty fat enough, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just odd, having her lay and then within a month or just over a month, they're popping out, and
I would think that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's bizarre because you're not used to, she laid 2 weeks after the first 2 corn clutches dropped, and it's here we are, know. And the first corn clutch should be hatching soon. I'm on day 45, so probably another 2 or 3 weeks left on those. That'll be the Ladies Island pair.
Nice.
And then the blood red female, she's cruising. She's going to drop any day now. So I'm going to get a clutch from her, which I'm pretty excited about.
They actually did go?
They did. I found them.
Yeah.
They locked up. Like one morning, I went and checked on them before I went to work, turned on all the lights and everything, and they were locked. So I was like, perfect. I wrote that date down. She had a prelay shed like a month later. It was like, I felt, I palpated her. She's definitely holding. So I was like, perfect.
Nice.
And now she's getting swollen. She's been hanging out in her lay box. So
cool.
Yeah, Christian said, isn't it weird that how there's so many cool species available, but nobody cares about them? I don't know. So Dion's are just one of those ones where I think they were popular at one point. Like there were more people doing stuff with them, and then people just got sidetracked by other species, and they kind of just faded away, sort of in the way that a lot of other species do.
It's because they're not flashy, man. That's literally.
But there are some that are like screaming red.
Yeah.
There's like the melanistic ones are freaking cool. There's a ton of options. Like there's stripes, there's blotch, there's like combinations of the two. That's what I don't understand is like they're not a big species. They're small.
They are very small. Your female is
my female,
very manageable,
considerably bigger than the male, but she's probably like what the size of an adult corn,
if that, dude. Like
maybe a little shorter, about the same,
bigger than her,
about the same girth.
Yeah. I'd say about
they
nothing bigger than an adult mouse.
Javanicus,
like, yeah.
Tony knows. There's elephant trunks.
Oh yeah.
They don't need heat. Like I mean, you can give them heat. I think because my room is at a higher ambient temperature, I don't give mine external heat, and they do fine. There was the one thing I was concerned about when I was brewmating them was them getting cold enough, because everything I read, and I think that's why I didn't have any luck with the Bimaculata this round, is because they didn't get cold enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept reading. Like I remember maybe it was Matt or Zach saying like you got to get them cold to get them to go. Like the Dion's in particular. And I was like, okay. And so that's why like when I was brewmating stuff and it was like 70 degrees in freaking December, I'm like, they're not going to go.
Yeah.
They went. It had zero bearing on that. Like when I put the male in there, he was locked up within minutes. So
they were also semi-seasoned breeders with, one season under their belt. So at least you had the advantage of them kind of knowing what they were doing.
But the Bimaculata are supposed to be a proven pair. I got a slug from her, and at one point it looked like she was, either ovulating or something. She looked pretty thick in the last, third, and I don't know. Never happened. She must have reabsorbed them if they were follicles or something. Yeah. But I think those are much more nuanced than the Dion's for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they're a smaller range by a huge margin, so they're not nearly as versatile in terms of what they can handle.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe those do need I think those, because I have some papers on the Bimaculata too, and reading those, they seem a little more nuanced than the Dion's in terms of how you got to get them set up before breeding season. So we'll try something different this round, coming in winter. So we'll see. But corns, 2 corn clutches, soon to be 3, 2 Baird's clutches. Those are all looking really good. That het hypo clutch, like 2 of the 5 eggs are good. The other ones went bad pretty quick. Candled them, no signs of life. So, but the 2 that are good are looking really good. So we'll see.
Yeah. There's that. 2's better than none.
That's right. So we're knee deep in well, depending on the ratios, because I don't need another male hypo. I've got 2 already, but if I had a het female, like definitely holding on to that. And, we'll see. Johnny Baird, what's up? I think most people don't like the more twitchy active snakes. They just want something that sits still, which is entirely possible. I mean, Dion's, I think, do chill out if you interact with them more. I don't really mess with mine much, and so they're pretty nervous, twitchy snakes. But I don't know. There's plenty of people there's a Dion's group on Facebook that only has like 300 people in it, and that's like the Dion's group. That shows you. That just goes to show you, like and they're mostly European. Almost all of them are over in Europe, because it's that whole like Dion's and Bimaculata, like those are wildly more popular overseas than they are here. So
Jeez.
we'll see, but it'll be cool to sort of get more out there into the U.S. hobby and see them sort of grow and take off. There's been a couple on Morph Market for sale for months.
No. Oh.
Really nice striped one. There's another Beijing animal, and then there was, I don't remember the locality specifically. I don't know if it even had one, but it was another one, nice one in there, like $250, and it's like that stripe one would be pretty cool to have. But
yeah,
I don't know if I think they were imported, so like from Europe, which makes me a little on the nervous side just with crypto and stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know. I do need, like, if I'm going to continue to do the Dion's thing, I definitely need to get some more blood in there, to kind of stir things up a little bit. Not necessarily locality specific, and crossing localities like I did with this clutch is, I guess, in the eyes of the European community, complete blasphemy. But it's like, look, I had what I had.
Yeah.
You guys have access to wild stock with these things. Like, we don't. So, yeah, pretty pumped. There's definitely going to be updates on those babies as they shed and stuff. And probably going to be getting a good bit of corns from Chris here soon.
Of course you are.
So I had the idea.
KP.
Was it on Snakes and Stogies? Maybe it was last week. Of like being Chris's overflow. So like he picks out his holdbacks. Everything else that he just doesn't want to hold on to, he sends to me. And then I can hold on to some of them that I get from that group. And then we sell off and split the money on the rest. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to try that out. See how it works. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Nice.
I'm excited for Blood Reds.
Yeah.
That's a pied Blood
Reds. Yeah.
Because I think Joe Rosa was like, "Are they het for anything?" I was like, "They shouldn't be. They're not supposed to be." Like,
who knows with corns though?
It wouldn't surprise me if something else popped out. But as far as I know, that particular line was kept very closed off on purpose. Like, that person that produced those has made a very solid point to keep that line going. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm just excited to see what comes out.
Oh yeah, man!
I'm excited for Ladies Island Tesseras.
Yeah, that's
what
exciting.
I'm very excited about.
Yeah, that's a cool pair. I'm gonna be interested
normal
to see that one.
Tesseras.
Normal,
but F1 Tesseras. If such a thing were to exist, I think it would be these.
I mean, technically they would be. It'd be the F1 Ladies Island Tesseras. Het for God knows what. What do they have for Ghost?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what's in Ghost, but
Het for Ghost.
What is Ghost? Isn't that two morphs?
It's Hypo and Anery.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Cool.
Yeah.
I just have my two corns, and I'm literally gonna, whenever they're of size, I'm gonna breed them, and then I'm just gonna take pictures of everything and send them to Chris and to tell me what they are, because they're het for all kinds.
What are they? Yeah, some of the stuff I have from him is het for like 5 things. I'm like,
that's what mine are. Mine
are the problem.
Mine are het for like 4 things, I think.
Call me simple, but the less hets, the better.
Yeah.
Just keeps things straightforward, because then you got to like plug things into the calculator, and then there's stuff that you may not even know is in there, and then it's just, and then when you have all those hats, it's like, well, I really like Sunkissed. I really like some of these others that are het, and it's like, how am I supposed to choose what to pair it to if I want to get more of that? But you're giving me all these awesome options. It's a problem.
Gotta weigh your options, man. You asked for this. You're in corns. This is like part of the reason why I deal with more localities than anything, man. Morphs confuse me. Makes my head spin.
Yeah, I've got at least 2 snakes from them that are het for at least 4 or 5 different things, and it's like when I pair those, it's I don't know what I'm gonna get out of those. It's like I'm gonna have to tell Chris, and Chris, because as far as the morph thing goes, I will say I am very green.
Yeah. Chris is a friggin'
And
genius. So
Chris knows what he sent me. So,
yep.
We do make hats embroidered. Cammy, who I work with, hates doing hats, but she does them.
Nice.
Thank you, Brian. But that's a good segue into sort of I've been. So I know the last like 2 or 3 one-on-ones we've done were really, 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 really whack.
A little rocky.
So I messaged Jake last week. Was like, we're doing one-on-one. Start thinking of stuff to cover.
Yep.
And I was thinking about just, frankly, the shower is my think tank. And so I was in the shower a couple nights ago, and I was thinking. That's how I actually came up with the network idea. I was in the shower.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I like couldn't sleep that night. I was so excited. I was like, this is like this. Why haven't we done this? But I was thinking, and I was like, how many species over the course of my herpetocultural career have I bred? And I was just going over and thinking. And then I asked myself, am I better off having bred different species? Or would it be better if I was just one of those guys that could just stick to like 1 or 2 and master them? So it's a jack of all trades versus master of none kind of thing. I don't
really think there's a right or wrong for that. I just think it depends on the individual, because I think even if you have a variety, you can master a species. Because let's face it, everybody, even if you keep a variety of stuff, everybody's got a favorite. Okay, everybody's got that thing that's always going to be there, no matter where they are in their herpetoculture career. It's always going to be there. So even amongst keeping different species and breeding them, I think you can still master certain ones as long as you're willing to put in the effort.
I don't know. I just think about guys, like Keith McPeak's a good example with the Bolins. Bolin. Yeah. Like if he didn't have all the other stuff he had and he was solely focused on the Bolins, which isn't a bad thing because Keith does awesome stuff. Keith is a friggin' legend. But I think about it in terms of the Jansenine too. Like for at least my stuff, it's like if I didn't have all this other stuff and I focused so much more time and energy into the Jansenine, like what am I not doing? That's where I'm missing the mark. Like, would I be better off that way? It's one of those things where it's like you can either be really good at one thing, or you can be okay at a handful of things. And I don't know. Like I think
I think you're looking at it a little too surface level, if I'm being honest. Like
how so?
Like
enlighten
yes,
me.
you can. I'm not enlightening you. I'm not being derogatory.
No.
I'm just saying, like
paint me a picture. What are we doing?
Like I said, I think you can be more than okay at certain things. Yeah, you might have some side species. You're like, yeah, I know how to breed them, but I have these 2 that I've gotten down to like a T, and exactly how to do it to be successful, and it could be different stuff. But again, like you also have to take into account like parameters in your room and how things flow together. So I think if you're keeping, several different species, but they all fall kind of under similar care and you're doing similar things, I feel like you can still hone in, those
cigars
species
are an excellent example. You have brands like Rocky Patel. Their portfolio is huge. Like I still see cigars in some of the catalogs for the online retailers, and I'm like, I've never even seen that before, but apparently they've been making it since like 1997. Their portfolio is so gigantic, and none of their stuff is really anything that makes me go, oh my God, I got to smoke this all the time. Like it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you look at companies like Padron, which have also been around forever, longer than Rocky Patel, they do natural wrappers. They do Maduro wrappers. Like that's it.
Yeah.
They don't try to do anything with like Mexican tobacco, like Like none of like the stuff from Peru, like none of that. Like they do what they do, and that is it. They know what they do well,
Yeah.
and they stick to it and don't deviate from it. But then, like I said, you have companies like Rocky Patel and Gurkha, where they have a million different SKUs and different lines, and none of them are really anything that spectacular.
Right.
So I'm not saying necessarily that like what I have going on is the case necessarily. It just made me think.
Yeah.
If I didn't have so much other stuff going on that was taking up attention, mental space and things like that, physical space for that matter.
Yeah.
Would I be better at stuff like Jansen
And I think that stuff is more like also managed, because I'll rebuttal here with like a different scenario. So you go to a restaurant, they have several different sandwiches. Okay, but there's usually if you go to the one or whatever, yeah. But there's usually one sandwich that's considered the best. You know what I mean? Like they have a sandwich or two that are like that's the fan favorite. Everybody comes down.
That smokehouse brisket at Firehouse.
Yeah, like everybody's got like a specialty sub or sandwich.
I don't even bother trying anything else.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Because I found what I liked. And I'm one of those people where, like, once I find something I like on the menu, I don't usually go away from that.
I'm the same way.
I get the same thing.
At Firehouse, I'm the same way. I get the same sub every time. But, that's what I mean, though. It's like usually people have stuff, but they have that one thing that they're just, like, really good at. So I think it would be more so like a management type thing. Like, you can still keep and have all your other side projects, whatever. But, like, if you keep them in, kind of a capacity, like if they're simpler stuff to breed and keep, whatever, like then have like a couple of them on the side, then have that main thing that you put like a lot of time and effort into, you know what I mean?
Flagship species.
Yeah. So I don't think it's necessarily like, pick or choose. Are you gonna focus? Are you gonna focus on one, or have just like a bunch and be okay at all of them?
It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good example for like the stuff you have. Like if you would solely focused on Popwins and like a certain phenotype that you like.
Yeah. Well,
like,
see, if you get into phenotypes, that's a different story. You're talking about.
I'm using that as an example because I can't just say Popwins because that doesn't really narrow anything down.
Well, yeah, but no, if you're saying Popwins versus keeping other snakes, but like if you get into phenotypes, like if that's a completely different story. Like if you're putting your sole focus on one phenotype of a species, then you will refine the living heck out of it. But at the same time, doesn't mean you can't have your other little, dibbly dabblies.
See, that's the other problem though, because like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like I'm not saying you can't. It's just something that I was thinking about. When it's different. So like, that's the best way to explain this.
Yeah, and I'm tracking what you're saying.
I have the pair of Jansen. I have a million pairs of corns and Bairds.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not the same. Like if I had an equal ratio of corns to Jansen, would I be able to balance those out a little bit better?
Or would you be able
spending
to
so much time working on one and not the other?
Okay, so this is what I'm getting at. So in that scenario, and I'm not saying you need to do this, but in that scenario, maybe if somebody else is there, they should cut down on the corns, not get rid of them, but cut back some so you can put more focus on the Jansen. Don't ditch them, still have your projects, but cut back, make it a little bit more manageable to be able to manage your Jansen a little bit more.
I want to put them in a bigger setup. I'm afraid it's going to set me back in terms of like progress made.
Oh, changing their enclosure.
Yeah, let's just hit the reset button.
Yeah.
Ugh.
If you set it up similar,
That's a species that does not like change. Like that's a species to me that's like they know where all their hides are and everything in the cage. They're familiar with it. They know where they're going. When they see me coming, they know exactly where to dip.
But they're like obviously I know it's a different enclosure, but I think I try to do things like putting like old bedding in there. If I'm changing an enclosure, I'll usually take some of the old bedding, put that in there, and then just put the hides in the same exact spots, but put extras because it's a bigger enclosure, but always have the ones that were in the same spot in the old cage.
So fun
Yeah.
fact, actually, and it's been a long time since I mentioned it, but when I bumped up chondros to those bigger Cambro tubs, I took the old paper towel from their previous tub when they were in like the 21 quarts and put it in there. And it's anecdotal, but I swear they adjusted light years faster to the new setup than they would have without that.
Yeah.
Because there was some, like, it's the male that Alan Stevens has now. Like, I'd move him into a bigger setup, he'd immediately like stop eating. Like a snake that just never refused food, move him into a bigger setup, stops eating entirely, like starts acting like a freak. So I move him back to the smaller tub, goes back on food, no problem.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want this to happen with all
too.
the other ones, because I had all those other chondros that I had to move into that Cambro rack, and it was like, I wonder if it will be a little easier if there's at least some level of familiarity in the new setup. And I think it made a huge difference. So.
Yeah, and I think that goes a long way. That's why whenever I get new snakes, I try to mimic the previous enclosure as much as possible. Like, some colubrids, it's really not going to matter. But if something...
Dude, that'd be like going to an Airbnb and it's set up exactly how your house is.
Yeah, that would exactly.
It's like Wayne's World. Remember Wayne's World? You watch Wayne's World,
really
right?
No,
what?
No, I never really watched
So they
it.
have their public access show, and then Rob Lowe, who's like the bad guy, comes in and they recreate what was Wayne's basement in the studio. And so like they're sitting there looking at it, and he's like, "Oh, it looks just like Wayne's basement." Except that's not Wayne's basement, but it's exactly the same, like verbatim. Like everything, like even the stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that helps with adjustment. If you're keeping something a little finicky, ask what the first guy was keeping them in and try to mimic it. Like I had a carpet. I sent a carpet to Mike Kosicki, and it seems like he's going now, but this carpet was the pickier of the bunch. He ate for me right off the rip. Like he ate his first meal, no problem. But after that, he was kind of hit or miss. And so I was holding on to him, and then he started eating consistently after a couple meals. He got really, really good. Kept him for, a year. He was eating perfectly, but I never changed his setup. But so that at that point I was comfortable sending him off. That was the one Mike wanted. So I sent it to him. Had problems right off the rip eating, and I was like, God damn it, man. This is exactly what I was trying to prevent, like by keeping this thing for so long.
Because you can have snakes that you send to somebody else that aren't eating, and then they start eating great.
Yeah.
Like that pop one I got from Riley.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, this thing ain't eating. You want it? I was like, sure. 45 minutes after putting it in the tub, I offered it a fuzzy, grabbed it like it had been eating the entire time. I'm like, dude, there's nothing wrong with the snake. And then it never refused a meal after that.
Yeah, no. Never did.
But for whatever reason, you can send other snakes, and they're like, "Oh God!"
I mean, it's like the pine Chris, the albino pine Chris sent me. The female. He was like, dude,
not the
the big
southern.
Yeah, the Florida. Yeah,
not the stripe.
No, the adult Florida. Remember, because I had to get a live mouse from you.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris was like, it only eats live mice, and I got it to eat a frozen thawed off the rip. And
Johnny has it. I forgot I sent that pop one to Johnny. He's like, yeah, it still eats like crazy.
That's nuts, man.
I completely forgot I said that to you. I don't know if that's good or bad. Because I checked with Riley first. I was like, hey, I got a guy who wants his first carpet. I had lost my female. And so I was like, can I send it to him? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I was like, hey, Johnny, got a carpet for you.
Yeah. It's great, man.
And it's still eating like a champ. You should send me a picture of that now, because I'm curious if it kept a lot of that darkness.
Oh, I know it did. The male I have from Riley is black. Really? Yeah, he's dark. He's dark.
Nice little pop one.
Yeah, snakes are weird like that, man. Because so it ate the albino Florida, ate the frozen thawed mouse once, and then never wanted anything to do with frozen thawed again. Put a live mouse in front of it, crushed it like it was nothing. So I was like, well, what the hell?
There's some sort of, because that's how it was with that male chondro of mine for literally like at least a year.
But the crazy with her, I offered her a rat and she just destroyed it. Frozen thawed. Just hammered it in 2 seconds. And I messaged Chris. I was like, dude, you ever offer a rat? He's like, yeah, dude, I offered her everything. She would only take live, and now, dude, she eats frozen thawed rats like it's nothing. Every time now, and it's like
what's weird is it's the common denominator there is like it's got to be sent.
But he offered rats. He tried frozen thawed rats. Didn't want it.
I don't know. It's just
It's weird. I have a theory, and this could be complete bullshit. Again, it's just a theory, but I think if snakes are from a certain area in the world, if they're in a climate that's the exact opposite of that, I think they won't do as well. But if they get sent to if they're a tropical species, they get sent to a more tropical climate, be like, that could kind of kick things a little bit, just geographical location, being more similar to natural environment,
like barometric pressures and stuff like that.
And again, I could be full of shit, I'm not saying this is fact, but it's happened too many times for us with tropical species, that they come to here, which is, it's probably 80% humidity out right now, and
it is brutal.
So it's, I don't know.
Yeah, that male chondro for the longest time, man, he would only take live, and I hate feeding live, especially like older mice, older rodents, like adults. Anything past a fuzzy,
I'm not about
or a hopper, I really don't enjoy feeding live.
Even hoppers, man, they'll bite.
But that was all I could get him to take, so I was like, whatever, just got to roll with it. And eventually, like, it started out, he would take a frozen thawed, every other meal,
intermittently,
every third meal. And then eventually, something just clicked, I guess, or something. Because now, it's not a problem. But it was just, I don't know. There's a reason his name was Problem Child, because I just had nothing but problems when I first got him. It was one of the first chondros I got. But, oh my God, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
He's still an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how we got to this point, but moral of the story is you can be successful with anything you keep, man.
Just as long as you put your mind to it and believe in yourself.
Do whatever you want, man. You make it all happen.
See, the whole argument sort of collapses on itself when we talk about Rob Stone.
Yeah. I mean,
that dude's had
argument made. Yeah. Like, he's super successful with everything. So
there we go.
Be like Rob.
Just be like Rob Stone. Still got to get those shirts made. Rob Stone is my hero.
Yeah.
In giant letters, all the way down. Giant letters. Wear it to Daytona.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited for Daytona. Oh my God, I can't wait. It's gonna be the most lit one yet. But
yeah,
what else we got on the board? Okay, so I got one for you. Okay, over your entire reptile keeping career, if there anything you could say there's nothing, but if there's anything you go back and redo or not do or change, what would it be?
Definitely getting rid of pretty much my entire collection and taking that year off. That was like 2013. I had that pair of Terra Humera boas that I fully regret getting rid of now.
Oh, yeah.
I had those pop ones, those M-Pen pop ones.
That was bad too.
Like, I had some stuff that I was just like, looking back, it's like that was dumb.
Yeah.
Probably doing the incubation of that first chondro clutch differently, because the above water thing just wasn't working. That tub, well, it wasn't the above water part, it was the tubs we were using that wasn't working. I'm sure I could think of more if I had to, but off the top of my head, definitely getting rid of that stuff that I had.
Yeah.
I mean, that break was really good because I came back into things with even stronger and enjoying it more, and was like glad to be back into it. And
it gives you an appreciation for sure.
Yeah. It was I don't know. There's just a lot going on at the time, but cool. I think that would be the big ones.
Yeah.
I think, with the magazine stuff, I kind of wish we had circumvented, the sort of the collapse of that better. There was a lot of factors that went into that.
Yeah.
A lot of it was just a lot of work and no extra hands. sort of thing. So I don't know. I think that's it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Probably
Losing that yellow rat in your.
Oh, shut up. Shut up.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
you
one
want to
for
talk
me.
about that? How about losing that
That's one
freaking
for me.
rhinos?
That's one thing I regret not doing sooner.
Keeping
was
the rhino
investing
in a
that
tighter
$8
tub.
door sweep. I think would have come in handy a long time ago.
Yeah. You ever regret not keeping your snakes in tighter tubs, closing your gaps in your rack?
Look, bitch. Of course I do.
Of course I do. Oh, jeez. But no, for me, kind of along the same lines. Like, if I could go back, I would change how I kept in my early days a little bit more. Like, I would put more focus on enclosures versus animals, I guess, because I went in a period of like just kind of getting anything I could, which I think that I'm not necessarily gonna say I would change that, because I think that kind of everybody's gonna go through that phase of you're just kind of getting anything and everything, whether it's singles or pairs. Yeah. Especially it's like, it seems like it happens kind of when you first get into the hobby, or at least you decide you want to keep on a more serious level. Like, obviously, if you just want to have one snake or two, like, a little bit better. But if you one of those people who you keep one or two, and then all of a sudden you want 20, then you're gonna kind of get that bioditis and buy all that stuff. And I think it's kind of necessary, to kind of really learn what you want. I definitely would recommend researching and really thinking about what you want to get prior to. And I think that's the biggest thing I would change, is researching more versus just kind of grabbing it and learning as I go. I wish I would have researched a little bit more and gotten more specific stuff.
What would you have gotten more specifically?
I think it would have been more so stuff I didn't, or stuff I wouldn't have got at all, I guess. You know what I mean? Versus not necessarily different, but stuff I wouldn't have ever gotten into in the first place. And then I also have regrets of like selling stuff. Like, I really regret my king rats.
Yeah, I had a feeling that would be the one that you regretted the most.
The king rats I regret the most, at least separating them, because I had a pair for a while, and then things happened. One stayed in Texas, one came back to South Carolina with me, and then I had a lone male, and he ended up going to a buddy, which, like, yeah, getting rid of the lone male didn't really set me back or anything. I didn't have a female, but separating that pair in general, I feel like I should have fought more to bring the pair and then not gotten rid of them.
I have a regret when it comes to your king rats, and that's A, not stopping to check it out more when I saw it, and B, not having an appreciation for them at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I knew what they were, and I was like, yeah, these are cool. But now, like,
They're
seeing Brendan Myers
dude.
and Billy has some, and reading Dr. Messenger's book where he talks about them, like, okay, these things are pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, they're
like,
incredible,
they're
dude.
Bizarre.
They are incredible. I would keep those again in a heartbeat. As soon as I get up the money to actually get some, and I get all my other Clue projects out of the way, those are first on the chopping block. I think they are just incredible animals. I never would have wasted my time. No, I'm not going to say wasted. It's the wrong word. I never would have gotten into bloods. I can tell you that. If I go back, I never would have spent money on bloods, because that was a bad investment.
A phase I still kind of giggle at.
Yeah, I lost a pretty good bit of money on getting into bloods, and I lost the money just because I wanted to get rid of them, and it just wasn't a good gig. And I also kind of had somebody who was wanting to get into snakes a little bit, so they kind of went in on some stuff with me, and all of a sudden they wanted out, and we had a falling out with our friendship, and then I had to reimburse him, and it was kind of messy, and he was kind of into the bloods, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, I want my money back on these. And I was like,
oh,
I didn't tell you to buy them, dude, but whatever. So it is what it is. But I ended up not really being into the species. They really weren't for me. I would change who I bought stuff from. I'll say that.
I don't know, man.
I would have been more specific about who I got.
That stuff that Nick Bettini at Cold Blooded Earth has is pretty ridiculous.
Oh, as far as bloods?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Short tails and stuff.
Oh, yeah. He's got some.
Oh, my God.
Incredible stuff. And I'm not saying bloods are bad, dude.
Graham Battison has some really nice stuff, too.
They're super cool animals. They're just the keeping style just really, I don't know, they weren't for me. And to be honest, at the time they didn't really fit. I kept things a little bit warmer than bloods needed to be, and so they really didn't go well with
They're the Jack
what
in the
I was
Box of
doing.
snakes. That's what I
Yeah.
didn't like about them. It was like you
Yeah,
could see the
they're-
eyes going crazy, but you never knew when they were actually going to take a swing at you. And it
Yeah.
was like, fuck, man.
Yeah, no, and they just weren't for me. They're great snakes. They're just not my cup of tea.
I only had the one, and it wasn't a blood. I don't think it was sold to me as a blood. It was, I think it was just a short tail, but
I'm just glad I didn't invest more money into
Mhm.
them, which I didn't invest a lot at all. You know, I had very few animals, but I quickly learned that they were not for me. But
yeah, those Teru Marabos, man, I still think about those.
yeah,
Like, people
dude,
ask
that
me, like, you
pains
seen any for
me,
sale?
dude.
And I'm
Oh
like,
my
they were. I
God.
mean, realistically, they were horrible. They
Really?
had really shitty attitudes. Like, you couldn't do anything without them hissing and like losing their shit. They ate great though. They were really pretty.
That's almost
I
the
don't-
biggest thing I care about now, man. Like, attitude aside, I can deal with a mean snake, but if they eat, like, that's that's my biggest thing. As long as I like it. If I'm not really into the species and it's an asshole, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't.
And I miss my
Yeah.
Nicaraguans, and that's why Scott Miller has those ones for sale. And I'm like,
Dude, I would see, and I would
remember,
get,
and I regret I had that Nicaraguan from you, and I
yeah.
don't even remember what happened, like who it went to.
It went to the local guy from Savannah, the wildlife catcher dude, who was big with what's his fucking Bluffton, caught alligators. I can't remember his name. He was part of Eric's little posse out there.
Oh, yeah.
Real short haired dude.
Yeah,
I
he
can't
was,
remember his
because
name.
I traded that Nicaraguan and some other stuff for Chondro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because he came back. He was like, yeah, I'll do straight up trade Nicaraguan for the Condor. And then he was like, no, never mind. Nicks aren't worth as much as I thought they
No.
were. So, yeah,
I do miss
no.
those, but it's
I would keep Nicaraguans again, but I wouldn't. If I could go back, I would have gotten a different pair. I would have gotten a pair of Nicaraguans from somebody else and kept them. I wouldn't have gotten the single one that I got. Because I still have a very soft spot for boas. I want a pair of boas really bad, but I'm waiting to like really find the ones that I want.
I'm at the crossroads where I gotta be pretty picky about what I decide to bring in now, because I literally like, I really, I talked to Scott about those Nicaraguans that he had. He just posted up and asked for a price, and it's a good price. They're head aneries, which I don't even really care about that. It's just I like the normal Nicks, and
yeah, that's what I would want, just normals.
I don't. It was some. I mean, I brought it up in like the group chat the other day. I was like, I really miss Nicaraguans. I told Scott that I was going to think about it for a little while, and I am. It wasn't like a let me talk to my wife kind of thing. It's like I legitimately wanted to sit for a little bit and make sure I really wanted them, and that it wasn't just like sort of an impulsive like nostalgia.
I'm thinking about
thing.
them right now, and I want them, and they're here.
Not necessarily that, but just like, man, I miss keeping Nicaraguans. Then I get the Nicaraguans, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I got rid of them. Like, most of the ones I had were pretty pissy. The ones that I had that weren't were some of the best snakes I ever had. But I don't. And then it's like, if I don't have room for Northern Pines, I probably don't have room for full-grown Nicaraguan Imperator.
Yeah, that's man.
So,
well, Nicks are on the smaller side, but they're not. They're still big.
You're still looking
at a 4x2x2 enclosure,
And then it's like, if I end up deciding to, because like my thought was, okay, I'll just get the one. If I end up down the line deciding I want to get a male or whatever, female, depending on whatever I got, then I would. And it's whatever. Like, no big deal, no pressure. Just have it to enjoy it, which I enjoy everything I have, for the record.
Right.
But just being like, I miss keeping Nicaraguans. Like, it takes me back to my youth. It would be cool to have one again. But then it's like, is that space that I could be devoting to something else that I'm more focused on?
Yeah, and that's really what it comes out to be. It's like with guys like us who have limited space, you kind of have to decide where do you want to put your eggs? What basket do you want to put your eggs in? Like, it's we don't have all the space in the world, and I think they would go well. I don't know how hot they can be kept, or if they can be kept at ambience like you keep, but I think they would fit well in a collection like ours for the most part. But
and then for whatever reason lately, I have kind of missed Amazons.
Oh God, don't even go there, Smitty.
That's one of my big regrets, was going in on those with you.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. I wish we never would have done that. But
Johnny asked, have you guys tried feeding birds? I've experienced practically no feeding issues this year since I switched to a mostly bird diet.
I have fed birds before. I fed quail to carpets, and it was
fed eggs, quail eggs.
Yeah, I fed full blown quail. Yeah, no, a lot of people are switching to birds, which it's not a bad thing, but pretty much everything in my collection would eat birds. All the rat snakes will. All the carpets definitely will, but
need to get some quail eggs for the Cyanea. They love those things.
I'm spending so much money on rodents right now that it's hard to advocate getting extras, because I don't really want to go on a sole diet of birds, but
Dan said, don't you dare miss Amazons. Jesus, I hate those things.
Yeah, no, I don't. Ever since that one snuck me on the palm of my hand, man, Amazons are sneaky.
And even if I did get back into those, I wouldn't want anything super high end or super fancy. Like, I'd be happy with some of like just the darker gardens.
Yeah,
because it'd still be fun to breed those and see what pops out.
You can have fun with those, buddy.
I've never bred any live bears.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
So
I don't know.
I think that's part of it for me too. Is like I just be different and be something.
I'm different
out of the norm from the incubator.
Yeah,
but then it's like supplemental heat in an already super hot room, another light, like heat panel, all that stuff. I don't know.
That's why I really try to keep my room on the slightly cooler side. Right now, it's really hard because it's so flipping hot out there, and I don't want to. I can't run my AC. I can only run my AC bill up so much. But I try to keep my room a little cooler so I can supply, supplemental heat. And if I do get something that needs it a little cooler and needs that, those temperature fluctuations. So
I have one regret with the Barons. That's not getting a female, so I can rub it in your face. I'm
glad you find it funny. Glad you're enjoying yourself.
They're cool. They're no rhinos, but they're cool.
Oh, they're no rhinos. Oh, jeez.
Oh, you want to get bit and smell like burnt rubber shit too? No, I don't. I will never miss Amazon musk. I'll never miss Amazon musk.
I've never smelled Amazon musk.
Oh my God.
Dude, I'm telling
like
you,
a burning tire.
It can't be worse than these Ponchatoula broadbands, man. No, I'm telling you, bro.
Might just be a different flavor.
I'm telling you, it's got to be a different flavor, dude. Because you got to come over sometime. And I'm gonna put them in the holding bin, clean their enclosure, and I'm gonna open that bin, and I need you to stick your face in it and smell it.
That's not musk, then. They just smell bad.
No, they don't. They don't. The snakes themselves do not smell bad. I keep them clean. It's the musk, man. I felt it was on. I made a reel of one just the other day. And I posted it today, and
you paid for it dearly.
The scent that was emitting from that snake actually took a dive bomb out of the tub, and that's why I got a video, because I was like, well, it's already out, so.
I already smell horrible.
Yeah, dude. But like, I felt it. It was wet. I could feel the musk on me, and it was that smell. I legit smelled my hand just because I had to make sure, and it was like I gagged. Snake musk does not make me gag, but these Ponchatulas, dude, it's ungodly. It's not fair to other snakes. Like it's oh geez. I can tell you, I wouldn't eat one if I was a predator. I tell you that. Jesus,
it would work on me.
It's like copperhead musk, but worse. That's probably the closest thing I can compare it to. That copperhead musk. That day you put your copperhead in the bucket
Yeah,
at your old
Smell
house.
like feet.
Yeah, dude, it's like that, but it's like way amped up.
I thought I smelled cabbage.
It's terrible.
They're not better than rhinos, Skylar.
They are better than rhinos. I can't.
You
can't
can't
keep either
even.
one.
You
I don't
haven't
keep
felt
either
pain
one.
until
They're
you lost a
cooler.
rhino.
They're cooler.
What are rhinos?
No,
absolutely.
No, they're not.
I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna be team rhino.
Fine. That's fine.
Like the Barons are awesome. I really like mine. I can't wait for it to
it's
get bigger so I can move it into
understandable.
that bio-G I got waiting for it.
It's understandable because I mean you're a chondro guy. I mean you're clearly into the less superior things, so it makes sense. Silence.
Fuck you.
Silence.
That's what I have to say.
Got him.
So we did have our buddy Ish, who was in the chat, had a question for us to ponder. North American rats on ambient versus supplemental heat. I found myself keeping my rats on ambient heat this time of year after seeing them spend more time on the cool side of their tubs. Now they utilize their space more after cutting their heat. So what's interesting is traditionally I've never been big on ambient heat in a room, mostly because I got to work in it. I don't like being hot and sweating all the time when I'm, doing really stuff that's not strenuous. It's just hot as balls.
Yeah.
But now that I have the Aki cage going, I've turned off all the heat on all my racks in my room because I also have a window in there, and that plays a big part in it. If you have windows in your room, I think it's a little easier because especially if you get the afternoon sun, not the morning. I think the ambience in my room are probably about 80 if I had to guess. So I temp gunned the egg box that the Dion's were in before they hatched because once again, I was trying to get some numbers and I couldn't find one of my Govies. I don't know where they went. I need to order more. And it was 79. And that's like chest height to me. So that's like middle of the space, like almost dead middle because it's like a 7-foot high ceiling. I'm 6'4". I can touch the ceiling, no problem. So it's obviously going to be a little warmer up there than it is down, chest level, but it's not bad. Like yesterday when I was popping the babies, I had already been sweaty because I'd gotten in my car after work and my car's been baking all day. And so I was already sweating my ass off. And then I go into the snake room and it's still warm and it's like, it just doesn't stop. It just continues, picks up where it left off between getting out of the car and going inside.
Yeah.
But I actually don't mind the ambient thing now. Like it's much more convenient. Like I understand that's why a lot of people do it because now you don't have to run a bunch of thermostats. You don't have to run a bunch of heat, panels and lights and things like that. Like I understand it and it makes sense. And now I am much more into the ambient thing.
Yeah. And with colubrids, I think running ambient is a lot easier. With stuff like carpets, I ran ambient for carpets for like a year and it was fine for the most part. I had a couple problems with certain animals, but I think that was due to other factors. But for the most part it was fine. But if you do ambience with stuff like carpets, you got to keep it warmer. With colubrids 80 you're good pretty much. Like for most stuff. Well, that's North American stuff. You're normally good, but the carpets you got to keep them around like 84 if you're doing ambience, and that's I can deal with 80. My room gets up to 80 like midday, and I can deal with that. But that 84, that shit was hot. Yeah. That shit was hot, and I don't know. I'll never do that again for carpets. Now colubrids this time of year, I'm about to be turning off thermostats.
Well, you have that window in your room now. Yeah. Is that an afternoon sun or
as afternoon sun? Yeah. So it works fine, and it's going to, I'm going to start turning off heat for the most part. I think like that big rat in the BlackBox cage. I haven't been turning on his light because it warms up so much in there.
Pretty damn warm in there.
Yeah. So, and it's not astronomical. It maxes out at about 80, and if I keep the AC down more, I'll keep it around 78, which at that point I like supplemental heat. But if it gradually rises throughout the day. And then, like I said, my AC bill is a factor. So I think I'm going to keep it, 75 in my house, which puts it at about 80 in there, or 76 keeps it about 80 in my room. So that's probably what I'm going to be shooting for, and turning them off during the day. But yeah, I've also seen that with my stuff ish. Right now a lot of my stuff stays forward because they have supplemental heat, and they just seem a little bit more antsy, and they're cruising a lot more. So I think it is a little too hot, and that's why I'm going to start turning off the heat, and but I think with the important part, Chris talked about it in Corn Stars a couple weeks ago. If ambient, works fine. If that's your preference, you want to keep ambient. A lot of people are very successful with keeping ambience. Do that, but there are some things you should do if you're doing ambience. Have thicker substrate layers. That way, there is a slight fluctuation. That way they can bury themselves really deep. So that's been a recommendation from Sir Paint Chab or Paint Job, and
Paint Scab.
Yeah, Paint Scab. That way there is some type of fluctuation. I just personally like to be able to let them thermoregulate. It's just a personal preference. I don't like heat tape. I hate running heat tape. I hate running supplemental heat. It scares me, but it's just one of those things. I'd rather keep up with it and replace heat tape every couple years, make sure everything's plugged in and, all your probes are in place. I'm constantly looking at my probes, man. Every time I open the slot where the probe's at, I look at the probe, make sure it's still good, stuff like that. Cause I prefer to have back heat, but this time of year, there's only so much you can do. Cause if your room is closed off, like mine is, I keep my door shut because we have a dog, and it helps with the smell, things like that. Because let's face it, if you have a bunch of colubrids, your room fucking stinks. But having your door closed helps with that. But having your door closed, it will get hotter, So, so you work with what you have, but I don't think it's bad because, especially like you said, if you have that evening time, you get almost a natural rise and fall, like morning it's cooler, gets warmer, midday drops again at night. Like that's a natural occurrence.
Yeah,
so,
and I turn everything off at night.
Yeah, you turn all of them off either way at night.
But we keep our AC at like 72, so it definitely cools off.
Yeah,
and then it warms up in the morning when that Aki cage gets turned on. And the 80-ish that it stays is actually works. I think that's kind of been the sweet spot because it's worked fine for the rhinos. Not that they're super sensitive to temperature anyways, but you definitely keep them on the cooler side.
Yeah, you don't want to keep them like super hot.
It's worked well with the Dion's and Bimaculata. It's worked well with all the Corns and Bairds. It's worked fine for the Chondros, fine for the Boyga. Like it works fine. Like everything eats fine, everything processes fine, everything, like there's no issues. So like I said before, I was like, I'd rather be cooler and more comfortable and just have external heat on, or supplemental heat on things than ambient.
Yeah.
But now, after sort of running that, I like it. I don't really have to worry about things because everything's cut off.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I like it. I get it. I think whenever I do end up getting a separate space for my stuff, I'm going to try and sort of do the same thing, keep it ambient if I can.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would even happen or what the setup would be like because we're so far out from that even being a thing. But it's worked out well for a lot of species across the board. So
my carpets will always have supplemental heat if my room stays at 80.
But I also sort of prefer to keep stuff on the cooler side anyways.
Right. Yeah,
I like to keep mine under 85, like everything.
Yeah.
I prefer to keep stuff
even
under
hot
85.
Even hot spots?
Yes. Like on my hatchling rack, especially when I had the baby chondros and stuff, I think I had it set to like 82.
Yeah.
Because I don't think especially considering a lot of the species that I, at the time had that were nocturnal, like the chondros and the cyanea, like they're not out and about when it's hot. 85 plus.
Yeah.
They're out and about when it's like upper mid 70s. Like,
right. Yeah, so, I mean that's a good point. I mean, like if you're
operational temperatures, and then there's the temperatures.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point, because if you're a herper, like, you go out with temperature drops, like, during the summer.
You're not going out at noon
No,
on a
because it's too
Wednesday.
freaking high, but you go when there's a storm coming through. It's down in the mid 70s in the evening. Like, it's always the best time. So, hey, there's something to it, and
Frankly, I think a lot of snakes could be kept at cooler temperatures and be fine.
obviously, like, snakes in the wild have the opportunity to go bask for an amount of time. I think as long as they get a period of having warmer temperatures, at least for a little bit, I think that's the important part.
Even when I was living with Doug, he kept the house really cold, which I loved it. If I'm recalling correctly, the Cyanea weren't even on heat at all. And they did fine. And we're talking like low to mid 70s. Easily.
Damn.
And chondros did fine. Brettles did fine, but they're Brettles. You could keep them in Antarctica, or you keep them on the surface of the sun. They're not going to care.
Right.
Like bears and stuff all did fine. Corns did fine. I don't know. The more stuff I've kept at cooler temperatures like that, where people will be like, "Oh, I wouldn't keep them that cold." Like, it's not even necessarily cold. I'm, and this is another like theory, and it might be a dumb one. People may agree, people may disagree. I don't know, but I've kind of come to the conclusion that with snakes, depending on the species, obviously, it's one of those cases where it's like, if you're comfortable, they're comfortable. Like Ackies, that's a different story, because Ackies, you gotta get them, triple digits on the hot spot.
That one's
like,
very species dependent, like stuff like North American colubrids. Yeah, I'd say that's.
But I've had the chondros in the
but
mid-70s.
chondros are also known to be on the cooler side.
I've had the Boiga in the mid 70s.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's not
a bad
alternative.
Like, I don't know. And it's obviously a big part of that too is going to be the fact that we live here in the Southeast, where it's like heat and dryness are not really an issue.
No, not at all.
So it's easy for me to say. If I were up in like Vermont or Northwest or something like that, that would be a different story maybe. But especially during winter. But even then, we've talked about like the natural dip seasonally in your room, because even with lights out in winter here, like the house is colder during the winter, and so my room is naturally going to be a little bit cooler than it normally would be, and like in the summer it's going to be a little warmer than it normally would be,
right?
And then everywhere in between. So
that's kind of why my plan is, like, I think at least with the colubrids, like summer months, no supplemental heat, gets warm enough. Winter months, if they're not being cooled, they'll get supplemental heat. At least that's kind of that. I say that, but announcing your plan is a good way to make God laugh. So
the whole thing that sort of started my thinking about the whole temperature thing, and like how what our idea of a normal temperature is, that's still warmer than they probably need it to be. Like that all started with the the Julander Phillip book on chondros, where they talked about how like we're keeping them too hot. And I think there's a lot in that book that I think can be applied to a lot of species outside of chondros too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, I don't know. I've seen these animals, and they've had nights in winter, or just in general, where it's colder than I would probably keep them at purposefully. But they've done fine, and they've done fine for extended periods of time. And so it's like, do they really need to have the hot end of 85 degrees? Or do we just assume like that's they come from Thailand, so it's super hot there, so they need to have a super hot spot at all times.
Right. And again, I think I think it's all species specific. Like for me, the biggest argument I make for having hot spots is like sometimes you see those animals laying directly on them. Like after a meal, a lot of my snakes go lay right on top of that hot spot, Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm getting at with the you don't know. It doesn't need to be there 24/7, but it's one of those things, giving them access to it at times, even times of the day, or hell, even times of the week. Give them 2 days of heat after they eat, something like that. Having the option there at times, I think, is beneficial. Is it needed? Not for everything, no. but can it be beneficial to some, and is it needed for some? Absolutely, so, and it again, it's all depends on what you keep, and because
I don't know.
you always have to stay within boundaries, obviously, but
even when I had heat plugged into like my hatchling rack or something, the only time I saw animals actively using it was like after a meal, or periodically maybe they'd be towards the back of the tub. But for the most part, they spent a solid probably like 80% of their time on the opposite end, like off heat.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just thinking out loud, but
yeah.
I think that we have more wiggle room with a lot of species than maybe people might think. I
wholeheartedly agree. And
I don't know.
Like, a lot of it's reading your animals. If you have one that's constant, if you have supplemental heat and it's constantly on heat, then it's probably cold. But
well, that one time that my rack, the probe fell out, and I walked in, and all of the chondros in that rack were hugging the cold end, like flat against it as much as they could be, and all of them were like that, like all 6 tubs. Was like something's wrong.
Yeah.
And I went and looked, and sure enough, the probe had fallen out, and it was like 100. We were like in. It was like Zoomid heat pad hot.
Yeah.
Like upper 90s, low 100s, and they were all on the cold end. I was like, something's wrong, because they don't all do that ever. And sure enough, so it is. I mean, it is. That's a bad kind of indicator. It's like it tells you something. And I'm glad that I noticed it, because had I not, who knows what would have happened. But I mean, there is something to be said for having that kind of thing, I guess, and you can read the animals a little better and have an idea of what's going on, and that going back to boas and like gravid females and they're pregnant females, I guess. Like they need that, and like they definitely need the bump in heat.
Yeah.
That's not like I wouldn't breed Amazons or Nicaraguan boas or something and just be like, yeah, well, how I keep them
75
like ambient, they'll be fine, no problem.
Yeah.
Would they be okay? Probably. Would I want to find out if they would or wouldn't? No. I'd give them supplemental heat for sure. So,
yeah. Well, moving on from that topic, before we wrap this up, we're hitting an hour and a half. What advice would you give someone wanting to start their own podcast? Smitty, you're kind of a guru now, being the king of the network. What advice would you give somebody?
My advice would be ask the Podfather.
Ask the Podfather, old Eric Burke.
No, it's the biggest thing that I would tell anyone wanting to start a podcast is be patient and keep putting it out. Like, you're not going to get results immediately.
No. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Like, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but I think people start one, they get, a month or two in, they're like, no one's listening to it. And so they give up, or they just decide not to do it. It's like, you gotta, it's a combination of being regular with putting out episodes and getting it out there and making it known. Like, people aren't gonna listen to it if they don't know it's there.
Right.
Like, Facebook ads, they're cheap enough to run. Like, there's ways to do it, but I think a lot of people don't, they stop too soon before it fully sort of gets fleshed out. And I mean, that's the case with us. And I mean, that's like why when we started, we went into it and it was like, don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't know whether this is going to last, 2 weeks or 2 years. Let's just put it out and see what happens. And
yeah.
I think a lot of that, at least in Herp podcasts and what's out there now, is like, it was just timing. Like, we got in at the right time.
Yeah.
I think like we got in just before the big wave and push sort of started. So
yeah. So will somebody looking to start one now, because they're just there's so many podcasts out now, like, do you think it would be a smarter route for somebody to, pick a species and make a podcast on that and put it out once a month or once a week, or do you think they should do what kind of more like what we do more of a broad spectrum and then go more often, I'm almost leaning towards more specific less frequently because there are so many now, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, I'm just saying it feels like that's starting to become more common though.
So the Chondrocast is a very good example of why I would urge someone to probably think twice about doing a species. I mean, aside, let me back it up. So corn stars is a little different because there's a lot going on in corn snakes. There's a lot of people doing stuff with corn snakes. There's a lot of combinations in corn snakes. Like, there's no shortage of stuff to talk about. Chondrocast, it's a little more difficult. Like, Chondrocast isn't gone. I know I say this all the time. It's not a priority. And I noticed fairly early on, and this is just me, there's people that have said, like, it doesn't matter who we had on, what we talked about, they would listen because it's just cool to have chondro stuff out there. And I think this might be part of the reason why Bill and Buddy don't do GTP Keeper Radio nearly as much, and they never have done it like a lot, but it got to a point where it felt like I was just doing the same episode over and over again. Because it's like, that's why sort of one of the things I wanted to focus on with it more in particular was like the people keeping chondros, not necessarily the chondros themselves.
Right.
Because pretty much everyone keeps them in some variation that's like same as the next guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's really no reinventing the wheel, so to speak, when it comes to keeping chondros. Like, there's the way to do it. There's the way that works. And if you're breeding them, you're probably got it figured out.
Right.
So that was kind of a concern when I started Corn Stars. But like I said, I think there's so much more to cover and get into.
Right.
But the Chondrocast, and I guess that's kind of the difference between like hyper focused and focused.
Yeah, you can kind of look at it like we were talking about with keeping the snakes, running a podcast, a different type of podcast, do you want to, focus on one and really master the podcast at that one, or do you want to have a bunch of just like different stuff? And and neither one I think is bad, but I think if you're gonna focus on one, it has to be less frequent.
I think people like, if you're and that's one of the things is like, even then, like when I was doing Chondrocast on a monthly basis, it was still like, I feel like, and maybe it's just me. Like I said, people were like, I'll listen to it no matter what you're talking about, even if it's the same thing we just heard. Like, people just want chondro content, and that's cool. Like, I appreciate that. I get it. It just got to the point where it was like, how are you keeping them? Cool. Exactly like the person that we just talked to does, exactly like I do it, exactly like David and Luke do it. How will you go about breeding? Oh, exactly the same way Luke and David do it. Exactly the same way I did it. Like,
and
it just got very repetitive, and I felt like we were just doing the same episode over and over again. Everyone, well, I won't say everyone, but a majority of people's story as far as how they got into chondros is pretty much the same.
And maybe it should be more of a genre specific. I think Klubert and Klubroid is a very good example of that.
Focused, but not hyper.
Exactly. It's on a broad spectrum. Like, I think somebody could start a podcast about old world colubrids. I think that would be a good podcast. Because it's still, there's a spectrum and there's a lot of different types of old world colubrids, but it's not, like you said, it's not hyper focused on. And I
wonder why NPR, like, they branch out and do stuff outside of Morelia.
Yeah, there's
but I wonder if it's because it was a similar scenario where it was like, how many times can we talk about carpets and how we keep them and breed them? It's like.
But they also have all kinds of podcasts now. They have like a blood python.
Yeah, I'm talking like long before all that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. When I started Chondrocast, and I was, it just. At the time of when I started it, I was like, this will work out. And it did. Like, there's nothing wrong with the show by any means. It's just one of those things where I was like, I didn't really understand why people would continue to want that. Like, want that show out there, because it's like, I feel like I'm just repeating myself.
Yeah.
So.
And, and anybody can get creative with it, even if you want to go the route of, hyper focusing on a species and doing a podcast about that. I think it's just going to be a lot of get creative with ideas and then execute them, and then just don't do it every week. Don't do it every 2 weeks. Do it once a month. Do it less than.
I will say though,
once a
that is
month,
a slippery
like,
slope, because I was like, I'm gonna do CondraCast once a month. It'll be awesome. And then it was like, oh yeah, I didn't do one this month.
yeah.
Next month. Oh yeah, I didn't do one this month. Next month. Oh yeah, I didn't do one. 6 months later, hey, here's an episode. See you in another 6 months.
But see, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if somebody set up a podcast that they did quarterly because it's so species specific, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like maybe make it a longer episode, maybe make it a short one, put out 4 episodes a year. You know what I mean? Like there's
at the rate we're going, that's pretty much what's happening.
and there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's the route you want to go, then do that. I think if you hyper focus on a species, you could very well do that. You could spend 4 years and only put out 16 episodes. It's, I don't even think it's a laziness, because you also have you also do a ton.
I would love to do CondraCast episodes like every week, but
yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, once again, I feel like it's like we're just gonna have the same conversation.
Yeah.
Over and over.
But I'm just saying, like in general, if somebody wants to hyper focus, I think it can definitely be done. It just might take a little bit more effort,
Mike Kosicki asked, what's the challenge of getting herpers on the podcasts? I don't think there's, I think
it hasn't seemed to be too bad.
I think we're fortunate in the fact that we really haven't had that many people decline the offer to come on the show.
I've had one person decline me.
I've had a couple, but we're talking like less than 5.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they didn't like the podcast, they didn't like the shows or anything like that.
A lot of it's just time.
A lot of it was just guys that just it's not their thing.
Yeah.
Like they're just not into talking. They're not, not gonna throw anyone under the bus, but like Bob Henderson, I really wanted to get him on to talk tree boas, and he's like, that's really not my thing. I'm not much of a talker, and it's like, okay,
that's fine.
And that could have just been a brush off excuse. Yeah. I doubt it, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't push it. Yeah. If that's what somebody tells me, cool.
Yeah, don't be a
I'm not
dick
gonna
about
continue
it.
to ask you every month. Like, if you really want to come on the show, if I ask you, then usually people are pretty enthusiastic about it. And like Terry Phillip, like I've had people who are like, man, get Terry Phillip on the show. Like I asked Terry, and Terry was like, I like to stay in the back. And it's like, that's fine. I get it. Like, I just like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, exactly. Like the one person, I asked one guy to come on and talk pits, a very well-known Pituophis breeder. And, he was just like, honestly, he's like, I have a family. I've got three or 4 kids, and I don't have the time between the snakes and family. Is like, okay, thanks. That's cool.
Things. It's whatever.
Yeah. And that's fine, but yeah, for the most part, it hasn't really seemed to be.
But we've also,
bad.
At the same time, we're also like the people we ask to come on, it's very intentional.
Yes.
Like there's a reason, like there's something you're doing or a species in particular you're working with that's like, okay, like I want to know more, and I want to be able to share that information with everyone else.
Right.
Like Derek Roddy's the next episode.
Next week. He is. Yes. Oh yeah.
And that was one of those things where I got a message from Derek, and he's like, "Hey man, I've been enjoying the show. You want to talk blackheads sometime on there? Let me know." And I was like, "Hell, fucking yeah, I want to talk blackheads with you."
I've been wanting to do a blackhead episode.
I tried to. I was like, "You free Thursday?" He's like, I'm not." I was like, "Okay, cool. Next week. All right." He's like, "It's in the books. Perfect."
Sweet.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not gonna be like, "No, man, blackheads suck."
Yeah.
Like, I don't keep blackheads. I don't have any desire to keep blackheads.
I do.
But
blackheads are freaking cool,
Blackheads are cool. He
also
he keeps some killer jungles. Like he ain't just doing blackheads. Like he does all kinds of stuff. And
and it's and that's also like the cool thing about this podcast is like we don't we don't just cover stuff we keep. I can't tell you how many episodes we've done where I've been blind as a friggin' bat, knew absolutely nothing about what we were, about to talk about. And
Anthony Pierleone and his
turtles.
Vietnamese turtles, the
Yeah.
black-breasted leaf turtles. Still wouldn't mind one of those.
Those are cool.
Every time I see his pictures, I'm like, I want one.
Yeah. But one of the notes I made for this question were any training or courses to take to help with editing and recording and all that, because that's a very foreign language to some people, like me. So with that, I actually reached out to Miss Dominique DeFalco, a very good friend of ours,
the host of the Modern Medusa podcast.
Yes, which you should absolutely go listen to. But I reached out to
Pretty
her
good
because
for a girl.
I reached out to her because she's very smart. She puts a lot of time and effort into her podcast. So I reached out to her and asked about that. Are there any courses?
Is the reason you asked her and not me because I don't do anything?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew if somebody I knew was gonna know of something,
there's tools
it would
that
be
exist,
Dominique.
I don't know what they are because I don't use them.
Yeah, I mean, am I wrong?
That's another thing. I pride
figured
myself
you would have said
on
no.
the fact
Like
that,
I've learned all this myself
since day one,
self-taught.
Not even like I ain't into editing this.
Yeah. There's also that.
How Burke and Dom and all those failing at one point, sit through the episode you just did for 3-4 hours, especially Burke and NPR, and go through and listen to it. And I just had that conversation. Honestly, I don't want to have to go back through it and listen to it again. So the reason we don't edit this is purely out of laziness. Because there's two things in this world I hate. One of them is editing videos, and the other one is having to go back through and listen to an entire podcast and look for small, stupid, inconsequential things. Not that anything that Burke and them edit is inconsequential, but I personally to go through and be like, well, that pause was a half a second too long. I'm gonna cut that out. I ain't doing it, man.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's somehow it's worked for us. I don't know how. I know a lot of people are like, I could never just throw it out there like that. And it's if there's a certain level of just not caring, kind of just gotta whatever, it is what it is. Snakes and Stogies last week, Phil wasn't around. It wasn't the best. Nothing against all the friends that joined us, but it's we didn't really cover a whole lot. Didn't get into much as far as information and things. And that's something I really do try to make happen with every episode of any show is did we at least get some information out there that people will find useful?
Right.
And they're not all going to be great. Not every episode's going to be, just an absolute banger where I feel we finished recording and I'm that was an awesome episode. That was great. There's some of them that's our one-on-ones in the past. Yeah. It's why did we even bother?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But some people still seem to like
some
those,
people enjoy
though.
it, whatever. It's going to be out there. If you don't listen to the whole thing, I don't blame you. No big deal. But it's just one of those things where it's I put it out there. Whatever happens, happens. It's in God's hands at that point. It's in Zuckerberg's hands.
Yeah. Well, leading with that, of course, Ms. DeFalco came through. She sent me a group. So this, again, for anybody who even wants to start a podcast, not even editing, but just looking to start. She sent me a Facebook group called Podcast Movement Community dash for podcasters. So Podcast Movement Community for podcasters. If you want to check out that Facebook group, go check that out. There's probably some helpful information in there. She sent me a link to a YouTube video. That one is labeled "How to Edit a Podcast in Audacity."
Yep.
Is that Audacity? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is look kind of weird. But yeah, how to edit
a
podcast in Audacity. So
if you're using PC and you're doing a podcast, Audacity is free. It's pretty easy to use. I haven't used it in 10 years. I'm sure it looks a lot better than it did at that point, but it's free.
There's a YouTube video on how to edit in that. So If it's something you're looking into, be a good video to check out. And then she also sent me another video. This is from podcastinsights.com. And I believe
That one sounds familiar.
I don't know if it's a video. It might just be, I think it's just a link. But yeah, it is. It says the ultimate guide to starting a podcast, free forever. And again, this is podcastinsights.com. So that's something that could help you out. Check out the website, and then they've got a link how to start a podcast. If you're interested in any of these links, hit me up. I can send them to you from Dominique.
Everyone should just message Dom. Flood her inbox.
No, don't do that. She'll hate me for that. You can flood me, and I will send.
She can hate me for it.
I will happily send you the links that she very graciously sent me. So those are just a couple things. If you're interested in starting a podcast, or you're toying with the idea, but you don't really know how or where to start, or you're like me, you don't know jack shit about editing, then yeah, I think that's a great place to start, and check them out. And
yeah, consistency is just getting them out there. I know for a lot of people, myself included at the start, I mean, we didn't really know what we were doing. Like, it's scary to sort of put yourself out there. It's intimidating. Like, I know Jake felt the same way when we were starting, like putting yourself out there, and like imposter syndrome, like that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
It just gets easier over time. And I tell people that all the time. Like, we have people that have never been on podcasts before, and they're like, oh man, I was nervous. I'm like, it's really not. It's just, I tell people that all the time. And I think for whatever reason, I think it helps people feel less nervous. It's like, it's just a conversation.
Yeah. And that's how he put it into perspective for me, or that's how you put it in perspective for me. It was
we're just talking.
Yeah. Cause that would be my, that would be my suggestion. Find a co-host that you get along with, that you talk to regularly, that and you can have just regular conversation with. It makes it easier. The first several podcasts were just me and Justin literally talking like we talk every day. So it's when you put it into that, and it's just a conversation, you're just talking to somebody like you would over Instagram. It's just you're recording it. There's no difference.
Like the live thing, that also is another sort of like step above that you kind of have to get used to and adapt to. Like, that does also get easier. Like, I know Jake, like the live thing for you, like previously was kind of like, I don't really like the live thing, but like after doing it with Phil and stuff, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, and
like, it's an adjustment. It's another adjustment.
This is probably the most comfortable I've been during a live stream. And it's not like, and you'll see me in videos, man. Like, I'm not good. Yeah. Like,
I
love how you just agreed with it. Like, yeah, you're terrible. If you watch that collection video, dude, I was like, oh my god,
it gets easier the more you do
terrible.
It. Because the videos are the exact same way.
Yeah,
for the longest time. Like, once you. I think, if anything, videos are on the same level as like recording podcasts, not doing live, because it's like you can screw up and you can edit.
Yeah.
You don't have to not edit. You can edit. And I do edit videos because we say a lot.
Yeah.
Both of us all the time.
All the time.
There
it is right there.
Like, knowing that I can redo. Like, if I say something and I lose my train of thought, I can stop. And I'll do it in videos all the time. I'm sure you've seen it. Like, we'll re-record and I'll stop. Like, a couple of seconds, think about it. Yeah, think about what I got to say. Like, I'll write stuff down that I want to cover, like talking points, just so I don't forget anything mostly. But it's like you eventually you get comfortable doing it, and just it gets easier. So it's just one of those things. Again, you just got to stick with it. Expect the first handful of episodes, whether it be video or podcast, to be a little rough. Like, they're gonna be. Ours were.
Oh yeah.
Like, our first.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. First, like 15, 10 were definitely were in like the first like handful for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because it was like one of those things where like we were still sort of feeling the whole thing out. Like
and we didn't even really know each other that well at that point either. Like, we'd only been friends like a couple months. So it's
just once you sort of find your routine and your groove of things, which we have, like in terms of like all this stuff that's set up that you can't see, like it's all dialed in where I want it. I leave it there. I don't play with anything. I don't pack everything up at the end of the night. it all stays there, and my settings stay exactly the same. And hopefully no one touches them. It doesn't seem like anybody does, but who knows? Like I have my routine of how setting up, taking everything apart, uploading everything, adding intros, outros, all that. Like once you get in the routine and you understand sort of the flow of things, it gets really easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot like playing music in that regard, especially co-host wise. You sort of you know what the other person's kind of gonna do before they do it. And, you just kind of you're around someone long enough, you know their mannerisms, you know how they do things.
That's why I asked Dom about the
exactly.
Yeah, but
someone also asked, how hard is it giving up multiple hours a week doing a podcast when you have a family and life? That is tough. Work schedule, I think, is kind of what plays a major part in that. My work schedule up until recently, we wouldn't start recording until 9:00 at night. And that's, you're looking at 2 hours or so of recording, and then I upload still, so I wasn't going to bed until like midnight, 1 a.m. sometimes. You just got to make time.
Yeah.
Like
you have to be dedicated. You have to love it. That's the thing. Like if you got a family, you got other shit going on. Like me, I can't talk much. Like I got my snakes and a dog and my girlfriend. Before it was a little harder. We're not gonna get into all that, but
not gonna sugarcoat it.
Yeah, no. Before it was difficult. Everybody knows I left for a while. Yeah, that's beside the point. As of now, I don't have a whole lot. I don't have kids. I don't have all that. Like Justin can speak way more on that. I get off earlier than he does. I don't have a wife or a child. So.
But that's just sort of understanding. Like,
yeah.
Katie knows that this is a big part of like what I do.
It's a big part of your life.
It's a big part of my life. It's it is a very large chunk of like the herpetocultural career of sorts.
Having somebody that supports it is vital, and I can tell you that from firsthand experience. Having somebody that is behind you on this and what you do, because there is time that goes into it. There's nights that you're not around. And
I'm not gonna lie, like before I got the new job and stuff, I had a wife that was really irritated with me that we were recording and that I wouldn't just bail. There'd be some nights where she's like, "Man, just cancel. Let's do something." And I'm like, I'm a schedule person. If I got someone on the books and I've committed to something verbally, unless I'm on fire, I'm probably not going to cancel that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there have been strenuous periods, especially like if we do like THP Thursday, Chondrocaster Cornstarch Friday, Snakes and Stogies Monday, like back to back to back, which it hasn't happened very often, but like it can. There's a balance with everything. It is so much easier now that the work schedule is much more normal.
I was gonna say that
oh my God,
plays a huge part. Like when you're not getting off at 8:00 at night, like
because before it was like get off at 8, drive home fast, probably stop at the gas station on my way home, get a bang or something because I'll need it, and then get home, eat. It's probably sitting in the microwave waiting for me by the time I get home. It's like eat real quick, set up. Jake shows up, we're good to go. Got my cigar, got my bang, set it all up.
Yeah,
get it going.
It's hard to do after a long day, man. Like shit. But like today, man, like today was so hot. I was outside all day, and it's like sometimes you just don't want to do anything. You just want to sit in your house on the AC and not do shit. So
it's hot here right now.
Yeah, it's hot as balls in here. These fans are great, but my God, it's hot. But that's the thing. You gotta love it. You gotta be dedicated to it. You gotta have. There's so many factors that make a successful duo, successful podcast, like just a
chemistry.
Yeah, there's chemistry, and then you just have to have the right, home life. Anybody can do it. It's just you have to, you have to be willing to put in the time. And again, like if you can't commit to a lot of time, that doesn't mean you can't do a podcast.
You can.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about. Do it quarterly, do it once a month. That you'll find a middle ground with your significant other if you really want to do a podcast, but you can't commit to once a week because of family and
every
life.
other week, whatever.
Yeah,
you
every
know,
other
it's just
week.
a
It doesn't
consistency
matter.
and sticking with it. Like
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the percentage is, but there's so many podcasts that start and never get past like 10 episodes. Like there's a legit statistic for it. I don't
Yeah.
remember where it is, or I don't remember where I saw it, but a lot of podcasts don't make it past like 10 to 20 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's just because I think people like we're in the age of sort of the instant gratification, instant results, and like people don't see that, and so they kind of throw in the towel. But it's like one of those things where we were stoked when we had like 15 people listening.
Oh,
at first.
man,
It was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was stoked when like we got our first comment. Like, hey, you guys are great. Like, really?
Like, oh my God.
Like, you think that? Thanks. Like, that's cool. Like, awesome. You know,
But I mean, lifetime we're at, and this isn't on all platforms, but this is on most of them. What's it currently at? Let me see. Load app. $377,414 plays.
Golly.
Like,
Granted, that is the course over a lot of episodes.
Right, but every year, like looking at the graph,
yeah,
our like number of plays has literally doubled each year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's like it's crazy to think like we were stoked when we hit like 1,000.
Yeah,
it was like no way, and I mean that's still like we're not jaded to that anymore, but
no, it's not like we're over here stuck up like, oh,
like,
if we don't get 1,000
like,
plays, it was trash.
It's wild, like because you see it grow and then you see it sort of taking off, and that's how you kind of know you're doing something right. Because if you got people listening, like clearly there's something interesting happening. Like people are, you know, whether it's guests or topics, whatever, you know, it's just you just gotta. My advice would be to ignore the numbers. And I still say ignore the numbers because the numbers don't really matter. It's just cool to see.
It's just a perk.
It's a perk.
That's all it is. You know, I would, if there's, like Bill Bradley always talks about it, he would rather have that one guy that truly appreciates his podcast and is like, wow, you're doing amazing, than, or that one guy that means something to him, say you're doing a great job, versus, all the people in the world listening to the podcast, as a whole. It's like I'd rather make that impact than have like 1 billion views. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And a lot of it too is sort of the reasons why you're doing it, kind of just like with breeding. It's like if you're doing it just to make money, you're probably not going to do great.
Successful. Yeah.
If you do it with the intention of like wanting to put more information out there and wanting to better the hobby and wanting to help people, whether it's something snake related or not, or just a distraction from like daily life and bullshit.
Yeah.
Like if you do it with that intention and because you truly enjoy doing it, like that's been my philosophy since day one, is like you put out good stuff, you do the right things, everything else will follow.
Yeah.
Like everything else will fall in place after that. Numbers, whatever, sponsors, cool. Like you just got to start by wanting to help and enjoy it, put out good content, not stress about it. Like just it's supposed to be fun. It's cool. Everything else is icing on the cake. So
yeah, pretty much. Well, I think that is a good segue into the end of this episode. Hit the 2-hour mark. I don't think we've hit the 2-hour mark
it's been a minute.
On a one-on-one in a minute, man.
I have to announce real quick,
okay,
because Pia has requested that I do so. The reptile preservation party is happening before Daytona. Let me get the information right now because I am not prepared. Save the date. The Thursday before Daytona's reptile show, the reptile preservation party will be both virtual and in person, so get your tickets before the event. We will have an amazing lineup of speakers and a wonderful auction benefiting some incredible research and conservation of amazing species. Join us for a great time and great cause. Stay tuned for more details.
Cool.
RPP.
Check them out.
Reptile Preservation Party. Yeah. Still need to go down there and see the crocodilians now that they got them outside and stuff, man.
Yeah, I really want
to hang out with Derek.
Yeah, I really. Dude, I love Derek.
I want to see his Ophrys.
I just want to see his stuff, man. He's got great
Ophryiacus.
stuff. Derek keeps Neurodia.
Yeah, he's got Bairds and Subocs too. He's like The roadie is the last of the things that makes him cool. Free, I can start at the top of that list, though.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of those things, man.
Yep.
So cool.
Well, we hope to see a lot of people at Daytona.
I feel like it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, dude, it's coming up, man. I realized the other day, I was like, man, it's the middle of June. It's July, then it's August. It's Daytona.
Got to start getting some funds together.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I really hope I get this promotion next month.
Yeah, get it.
I hope so, man. I don't know. It's gonna be a clusterfuck between me and my coworker, but it'll be what it is.
They should just give you both a machete and say, 2 men enters, 1 man leaves.
Yeah.
Fight to the death.
I don't know. He's old but fit. I'm young and kind of chubby, so it might be a. I don't know. Might be
an even match.
Yeah. No.
I'm gonna put my money on the other guy.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. I probably would too, to be honest. He's kind of an animal for 60. So, but anyways,
this show was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Check out Jake's video where we talk about all his black box stuff that he's got.
Best of the
Count
best.
how many times we say butter.
And that was
a lot.
Post editing.
That was post editing. I cut out a lot of butters.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna have him start from the top and say butter. I'm gonna have him go to the bottom and say butter. Like, there you go.
That's
I
what
think
happened.
they get the idea.
It was all butter.
Yeah. So I'm gonna maybe this weekend I'll be able to film some stuff in my collection.
If you want me to come over, do any camera
Figure
holdings?
something out. I need to get a light first.
I can charge my little mini me.
I need to just get another one. I want to get another one of these.
Yeah.
I thought about getting like maybe 2 of them, one for your side and then one for like back here, so that it like, I don't know. I'm just trying to be all cool like the YouTube peoples, man.
Yeah.
So you guys can feel what it's like when you're listening to the audio version of this. You can feel the magenta light that is beaming off my moon face.
Awesome.
Steve Sanctuary, please check him out as well. Venom Hot Sauces. Jake was about to forget that. I didn't let him.
I didn't. I was testing you.
Steve Sanctuary, Facebook, Instagram, stevesanctuary.com. Get you some Venom Hot Sauce. It's hot. It's delicious. It'll make you sweat if the humidity and temperatures here in South Carolina don't already make you do that.
Yeah.
This will just get all the toxins out of your body.
Just
sweat it out.
It's
like a fever.
It's good for you.
It is.
Make you sweat like you're catching a real snake.
That's right.
Oh boy.
Almost like you got the coral snake in your hands. The heat.
We don't recommend that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't pick up a coral snake,
but imagine you hold.
Yeah,
when you're eating the hot sauce, just imagine you're eating a coral snake.
That what your mouth feels is what. Well, maybe not with a coral snake, but with cottonmouth sauce, the burning you feel in your mouth is what you feel under your skin.
All your facial muscles will just paralyzed with the cottonmouth sauce. And eventually, you'll just stop breathing. At least with the crotalid stuff.
When you eat coral snake,
you'll feel the fire on that one.
Oh yeah,
the coral snake one will just slowly shut you down.
You'll just die. It's great. It's very pleasant.
Yes, we'll be back. Phil, I'll tell you what. If Phil ain't back for Snakes and Stogies Monday, I am just gonna have a fucking fit. Because I want to hear about Arizona.
Have a bitch fit.
I want to hear about Arizona, and I miss Phil.
Yep.
He left me. Went to go hang out with Nipper.
I don't blame him.
Just because I don't have a cool British accent.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, whatever. Whatever. And then Nipper didn't even have the decency to fly to the other side of the country and visit.
What an asshole.
He's actually, I think he was going to Pennsylvania after to hang out with Burke.
What?
Like they were already in Arizona together, and then he's like, "Hey, I'll just come hang out with you, Burke." So I guess us here in the Southeast can just go fuck ourselves.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody for tuning in to the live stream. Thank you for anybody that is listening to this episode. You are amazing. We love you. You're the reason we do it.
If there's anything else you want us to cover on a one-on-one, send it to us so I can write it down on our notepad. Please. So we can continue to make them actually worth listening to.
We always need more topics. We worked hard this week to come up with our own. So,
oh, geez. I miss Phil's beard, too. Bye.
Nobody likes. I don't have a beard.
Joe Dirtbeard. Joe Dirte.
Yeah, Bo. All right.